Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, July 9th, and it is 10:06 a.m., and we are calling this regular meeting of the Winchester School Committee to order. Our Thank you, Mr. Marion, for this new graphic representation of our agenda. I love it. We've got numbers right, easy to read up on the screen. So we are going to start today with public comment, then move on to superintendent and chair remarks, our consent agenda, a discussion of the Safe Schools memo that Mr. Belair submitted, some updates, consideration of approval for our childcare hardware and FSMC contracts, talk about our summer meeting schedule and our workshop, move into executive session, and adjourn hopefully around 11:30. So with that, we will flip over to public comment. Public comment will be for up to 20 minutes. Anyone who's wishing to speak shall identify themselves by name, no longer than 3 minutes, and our Vice Chair, Ms. Minyarji, will do the timing. All remarks are addressed through the chair. And just as a reminder, public comment is not a discussion, debate, or dialogue between residents and the committee. It's just an opportunity for everyone to express their opinion on issues of school committee business. If there's something you want to submit in writing, we're happy to incorporate that into the record. So feel free to do that either during or after the meeting. And with that, I will ask anyone who is here for public comment to raise their digital hand, and we will elevate you, and Ms. Minyarji will do the timing. All right, I see we have three people here for public comment. There's someone, Cindy, and then Rebecca Sliz and Liz are the three people. So I think we'll take them in that order, Ms. Minyarji. So if you'll go ahead and do the timing, let's elevate Cindy first, and we will move on from there.
Looks like Cindy put her hand down. So we'll go on to Rebecca.
All right, so let's move on to Rebecca Sliz.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And good morning.
Good morning, Rebecca.
My name is Rebecca Sliz. I live at 2 Watson Place, and I'm here today both as a parent of 2 students in Winchester Public Schools and as the executive director of the Network for Social Justice. I am grateful to the school committee for having on its agenda today the topic of safe school zones. And I fully support creating policies and procedures to ensure the safety of all WPS students, including in the event of federal immigration enforcement presence. There are times when my roles, and yours too, I imagine, overlap. And the desire for all students to feel safe in school is one shared by many in our community. Over a year ago, when executive orders were issued aimed at and affecting immigrants, as well as other segments of our community, I was in touch with parents who were concerned. Even if we can never guarantee our children's safety, we wanted some communication and some assurance that the schools had a plan if immigration agents were to show up. Fast forward to this past April 2026, when the network convened a broad group of stakeholders. The purpose? To discuss community preparedness, as local and national news indicated that immigrants and people who look like immigrants continue to be at risk. At that April meeting, the idea of a safe school zone was introduced, and we learned of a Massachusetts school defense toolkit with resources and best practices that was developed because of the ongoing and increased concern about school preparedness and student safety. Coming back to today, that is why I'm so grateful that the school committee is acknowledging this concern and committing to develop a policy and plan for Winchester Public Schools starting in the next school year. I can confidently say there is a broad group of stakeholders who support you and is willing to share the resources we've collected, as well as our needs and perspectives. I'll close with a brief story about why this work feels so important right now. Out of personal and professional interests, I signed up for a summer class, Spanish for Social Justice, with 20 others from Massachusetts who want to improve their Spanish and be able to better support immigrant families. The first scenario we discussed at length was escuelas y emergencias, schools and emergencies. We were encouraged to imagine that we were children being asked, "Where are your parents? Do you
I'm
know
sorry,
their phone number?"
Becca.
Yeah.
It was 3 minutes, so maybe just 5 more seconds. Becca,
Yeah,
sorry.
sure. What I think we were really being asked to consider and feel in that moment was vulnerability and empathy. Two more sentences. While Winchester may not be a community where the risk of immigration enforcement actions is high, we do want to be a community where we lead with and teach empathy, where our schools are places where all students feel safe and a sense of belonging, and where our policies and practices are aligned with these shared values. Thank you for committing today as a school committee to a policy that protects students and families who may feel especially vulnerable in this moment and maintains a school environment where all students can learn and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca. I see that Cindy has re-raised her hand, and we have Liz as well. So I will let Mr. Marin decide who to elevate next.
The should be coming over.
And thanks very much, Rebecca. As we see you passed back off into the attendee zone.
Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you for bearing with me.
Mhm.
My name is Cindy Ravel, and I live in Arlington. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay. I'm here as a fifth grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary School, and I'm also here to support the Safe School Zones item on the agenda. As an elementary teacher in Winchester for a decade, I've always known that our schools are committed to the social emotional well-being of our students. We're a team that puts our deep care and respect into action, from providing incredible social and emotional learning coaches to the way that we just solve everyday problems. And that's why I know that we will signal to families that we are alongside them in protecting our students and our learning environment. So this item seeks to make transparent our district's commitment to the safety of immigrant families and of all students by creating a clear protocol that could be followed in emergency situations. And I, along with countless other educators in our district, strongly advocate for the school committee to commit to providing this. At the final Winchester Education Association Rep Council meeting this year, the representatives reviewed an early version of a Safe School Zones resolution, and they endorsed it with enthusiasm. Their only question was, when can this happen? So I just want to say thank you on behalf of Winchester educators. We know that our district can be a role model for others in these trying times. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy, we will move you back to the attendees. Certainly welcome to join the rest of the meeting, but thanks so much for joining us this morning. And Liz is our final public commenter. If you could unmute, and if possible, if you're in a place to do so, turn on your camera. That would be great.
Hi, my name is Liz Black-Suchy. I'm at 195 Highland Ave in Winchester. I'm a parent of two Morocco children. I am fully in support of the Safe Schools resolution. First, I want to say thank you to everyone on the school committee this year and to Frank Hackett. I also want to say I am sorry for what you must have gone through this spring. I cannot imagine what it's been like in your shoes. You've had to make a lot of really difficult decisions about budget cuts. Many of them were probably lose-lose. I think the decision to pass this resolution, however, is a clear win. This protects all students, all staff and parents. It's an easy way to show how Winchester Public Schools prioritize and protect our students and staff, particularly the most vulnerable. Perhaps you might encounter people who feel the likelihood of federal agents arriving at our schools is statistically insignificant. To those people, I would say, I hope they are right. And also, what's the statistical likelihood of a fire happening in one of our newer buildings? These buildings were built to avoid fires, and yet every year we have fire drills, just in case, and because to not do so would be clearly irresponsible. I think the same holds true here. I would also ask people to remember that even if federal agents never showed up in the town of Winchester, parents could be detained from their place of work or while out driving or going to church, etc. We need a policy in place to support any child who has lost one or two parents. Since January of 2025, according to CBS News, more than 6,300 children under 18 have been detained. So, for anyone who thinks this is a problem exclusively of immigrants, also, according to the public report, as of October 2025, at least 170 US citizens have been detained by ICE, including approximately 20 American children. And for anyone who thinks this is a problem exclusively of people of color who have been racially profiled, please refer to the case of Tanya Warner, a white Canadian legally in the United States, on a valid work visa and married to an American man, and her white 7-year-old Canadian daughter who spent close to 3 weeks in ICE detention in March with no rationale provided. The good news is Winchester does not need to reinvent the wheel. Many other towns in Massachusetts have developed protocols already, which we can refer to. Furthermore, in May of 2026, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey issued guidance with the title K through 12 Schools Obligations to Protect Students and Their Information. I urge you all to take advantage of the fact that WEA, including Cindy, are great resources. They have an integrated working group. They're already in touch with schools with policies and protocols in place. They can share resources. Time's up.
Yeah, just one sentence to wrap it all up.
Great. Teachers and staff are the ones who would be there with children should this ever happen. So as a parent, I insist that they are at the table with you when you develop this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks so much. And I believe we have one last public commenter as we move Liz back into the attendees. Ileana.
Yes. Good morning. One second. I'm gonna try to turn my camera on. Right. And I'm not necessarily at a place. I might have to turn off my camera at some point, but I did want to take an opportunity to comment as a parent. I am, from an immigrant background. I have 2 children in the public schools, one in the high school and one in the middle school. I also have a daughter who has complex special needs, who is out of district. And I am right now at the State House. I have been here before. I am a strong advocate, and I came here for the passage of the Safe Community Act, and that was very important for the communities, who are the most vulnerable at this point. I know that Winchester is not necessarily a community that has or serves, large immigrant community. However, I know the importance that it is for me as a parent to have information, to know the procedures, the protocols, the policies, and to receive information, from the schools. And that unfortunately hasn't been the case. I just want to bring up a couple of instances in which there were some rumors going on in Winchester, and I really felt very concerned. When I spoke with my 2 sons, one age 13, the other one age 15, both of them said to me that it will be very important to have information. So if we go down also the line in regards of what the students really need, think about what the families feel and how this can be very impactful. I myself am a stakeholder. I'll be very happy to support any efforts in order for procedures, policies, and all of that to be done. I think it is a very important thing that Winchester needs to do. Thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ileana. Is it possible for you to give us your name as well so that we can incorporate that into the minutes for the meeting if you're comfortable doing that?
Yeah, of course. So do you want me to say it now or
just you can say it now, and then our recording secretary, Ms. Bolanese, will be able to incorporate that into the minutes for the meeting.
Of course. Ileana, Ileana, Gatica, Gatica.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ileana. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And we appreciate everyone who's come to share a public comment today. We really are very grateful always for hearing from our community. And obviously, we will continue to discuss this item later on the agenda with the memo that Mr. Belair put into the packet for committee members. So with that, at 10:21, I will close public comment and thank again everyone for participating. And we will move on to superintendent and chair remarks. Dr. Hackett.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, and good morning, everybody. I just have one. We have had a busy summer. We're doing a lot of wrapping up of a lot of things, including some hiring, but I am pleased to announce that we have hired an athletic director, Wayne Puglisi. Dr. Matthews and who else had a chance to meet him?
Ms. Minyarji.
That's right. Sorry. Thank you. It seems like it was a long time ago, and it really wasn't. Wayne is actually currently or has served as the athletic director in Andover, and he's been in that role since 2022. And prior to that, he has had a long career in Andover. So we are super excited to welcome him aboard. He's experienced. He rose to the top very quickly in the candidate pool at the high school screening committee level. And I think that, I think we're fortunate to find someone with experience, and I'm looking forward to, as I know Ms. Konis is looking forward to him coming on board soon. So that is it from me.
And it also, I think, Dr. Hackett, not to cut you off, but I want to make sure to highlight that he does have experience also having coached in Winchester. It was many years ago now, but he did start out, I believe he started out his career as a coach here in Winchester as well back in the late 90s. So he was excited because of his prior association with the district, excited to return after many years. So I will also just echo what Dr. Hackett said and say that, much of our time has been spent finalizing some of the more key hires for next year. And so you committee members, we will meet again next week in order to work on another one of those hires and ratifying that. So we are excited about that as well. So stay tuned, make sure that we are all sort of prepared and ready for the meeting next week so that we are able to finalize our great team for the 2026-27 school year as well. Summer is in full swing. Obviously, that gives us more of an opportunity to do some of our more long range and strategic things. So one of the things we will be looking to do over the summer is have some workshop sessions similar to how we did last summer in order to get prepared for the many things that we anticipate will be on our plate this coming fall as well. So stay tuned for more from me about scheduling those sessions in between all of our many vacations and travels that everyone has over the course of the summer. And obviously, thank you as well to those who came and provided public comment today. We are always very grateful and appreciative to hear from members of the community and look forward to working on the issue that everyone raised over the course of the coming weeks. So with that, I will move on to the consent agenda, I believe is next. And so Mr. Marin, if we can flip over to that. Ms. Bolognese, is there anything additional that you'd like to add? We did a pretty extensive presentation last week on this, but I know there were at least 2 notes that you had about small things that needed to be updated before we took the motion for the consent agenda today.
Oh, it's not necessarily an update. It's just a point that in the motion, there's a EFC, EFD, and then there's EFC separately and EFD separately. And the combination of EFC, or the point about EFC, EFD is that those are supposed to be split into 2 standalone policies, the following: EFC, Universal Free School Meals, and EFD on the meal charge policy. And then the combined EFC, EFD would be deleted. And then the other one is CCA on organizational charts. That's supposed to be deleted. So.
Did everyone track that? So it wasn't an update. It was an update for the committee to make sure they fully understood what we were voting on in our second reading and approval today. So is everybody clear on that? Ms. Minyarji?
I am clear on that specific point, but I have a general policy question about their summer schedule. So do you want me to hold off and let us vote in these policies first? Whatever you.
Sure, that's great. Is there someone that would like to make a motion around the consent agenda?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Is there a
Second.
second? All right, so with a motion by Ms. Bolognese and a second by Ms. Minyarji, we will take a roll call vote on accepting the consent agenda. Mr. Belair?
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji, oh, sorry, Mr. Hopcroft, sorry, I'm just looking at all my little Zoom boxes.
Aye.
Okay, Ms. Bolognese?
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we are unanimously in favor of adopting the consent agenda as presented. Ms. Minyarji.
So now that bell to bell is law, is policy subcommittee, do you plan on discussing it this summer? And looking for, or I don't know if has been on your agenda, and apologies, I should be attending your meetings to stay on top of it. But you guys are so good.
I'm sure you have lots of meetings.
Yeah, no, but you're so good about coming to budget sub. So I feel like I should be attending the policy as well to be supportive. But is that something that is scheduled for this summer?
So policy subcommittee will definitely be meeting over the summer, and it's a part of the future agenda items.
Great, fantastic.
So, and then just as some other comments just on policy. So with the approval of all of the policies today, we'll get the rest, or we'll get the policy manual updated for all of these. And I think we're most of the way to being ready to submit our policy manual to the MASC to be updated to their online policy manual. We still do have a few left, mainly from 2 sections, and then also just a few individual policies. So I have a complete list of all of those ready to go. And then also, I guess, related to this, with our student handbooks, I've taken a look through our student handbooks and all of the policies that we have in there, because I think we had a number of policies that were still based on the old policies. But now that we have gotten so much policy approved over this last year, we can pretty confidently update the student handbooks so that they'll be ready to go also for 26-27 as part of that preparation.
All right. Any other questions?
Thank you greatly.
No
This
problem.
is a tremendous effort. So thank you both.
No problem. Yeah, we are very grateful for all the work the policy subcommittee has been doing and will continue to do to bring everything up to date with and aligned with the latest policies with MASC. So with that, I believe we are moving on to the presentation of the Safe Schools memo. So I will turn it over to Mr. Belair.
Hey, everybody. So as was kind of alluded to or during public comment with some of the guests that we had today, I think this summer is a really great opportunity to, or as the memo that I put in the binder lays out, to really take a step back and as we're heading into the next school year, think about what our policies and procedures should look like in the event that there are federal immigration enforcement actions either at school property or that impact our families, and how we can be prepared for that. These have been actions that have directly impacted families in Winchester already. They've been impacting communities across the country, and we're, I think, in a position to do some thinking around what formal policy could look like to codify some of the existing practices that we do have, to come into alignment with guidance that was issued by Governor Healy and the Massachusetts Executive Office of Education, and then also to engage our state delegation or continue to engage our state delegation as the PROTECT Act, which is a piece of legislation that regulates federal immigration enforcement at public schools, courthouses, other facilities, to make sure that we're complying with the law as it evolves and as Massachusetts responds to federal immigration enforcement actions over the last 2 years. So I think this intends to be kind of the start of the conversation, and hopefully this is something that will be taken up in the policy subcommittee in the coming weeks so that we can be ready for the next school year. But I think I just wanted to advance this as a priority that emerged from a lot of great conversations with community organizations, with parents, with teachers, elected officials elsewhere in town that have kind of brought us to this point. So super grateful for their advocacy and input. And I think today, I think it would be helpful if the committee has, if there's, I guess this is maybe a general framework that I would use as a starting point for potentially drafting something in the policy subcommittee. So if there are general impressions the school committee has with regards to some of the points outlined in this memo, would be happy to answer questions or discuss what's in here. But I view this as kind of the beginning of a conversation that will continue in policy subcommittee and then come back to the full school committee later.
That's great. Thank you, Mr. Belair. I see Mr. Hopcroft and Ms. Minyarji have their hands raised. So let's start with Mr. Hopcroft.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Belair, for bringing this forward. This is, a really important topic. Obviously, I remember when ICE first started, their activities, let's say, having a conversation with Dr. Hackett, a year or more ago about, the things we're already doing. And I think it is a good time to look at how do we codify, expand, make sure that we're, being thoughtful about what we're doing, especially with the new guidance, and then communicate what we're doing out with the broader community for sure. And I think, working on this in the policy committee, I think is a good place to work on it. I'll note, the legislature, is, the Protect Act is in conference right now. The House version only protects courthouses. The Senate version has a broader scope of sensitive areas that do include schools and places of worship and healthcare and other things. So hopefully the Senate version is the version that ends up landing. But either way, as that evolves, we want to make sure that we're remaining, compliant with it. I think my input for policy committee folks when we start getting into this, I think a good approach to take here might be a sort of two-part approach, where we, having looked at the state guidance, and your memo, the state guidance has a few other things that I think the committee would probably be pretty supportive of as well. But then we just adopt the state guidance. And then we have a second part where we layer in the Winchester specific things that we might add to it, because I note that in your memo, we have notification of Winchester Police and having them serve as a district liaison, or, I've talked with Dr. Hackett about, we shouldn't, even if someone offers their immigration status, we shouldn't write it down. Dealing with third party contractors and things I don't think is in the state guidance. So I think having the adopting what the state's guidance, it keeps us from having inconsistency between policies, and it allows future updates at the state level to automatically remain up to date in our policies, but then layering in the Winchester specific stuff on top of that, because I think we might want to go further, would be a good approach for the committee to consider. So those are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Hopcroft. Ms. Minyarji.
Thank you guys for putting this together. Thank you, John. And thank you, Network for Social Justice, for your collaboration and partnership. I feel like just having this conversation sends a strong message to members in our community that they're supported, that we see them and we value them as members of our community. So thank you again for highlighting this and bringing this to our attention. I support everything in the memo. I just have a couple of questions and possible additions, or maybe you've considered them and went a different route. Affirm with service providers, absolutely important, right? So the protocols that we're having during the school day for after school programs like Kidsborough, we want to make sure that our students are protected the entire time that they're on school grounds and that are part of even after school programming. Absolutely. But along that vein, also with parent associations, they have after school programs, but they also have, Halloween parties and various events that members of the community can participate in that can experience certain, that can be put in situations where we need to follow these protocols as well. So if you can include the leadership, and you can go through ISLIP, I believe is the new leadership council's name, the former PISC, and just have a quick way to kick off the school year, some safety protocols that they can implement after school during, concerts and book fair and science fair, all of these great things that we do just to make sure that we're consistent and we're protecting our community always. I'm all set. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Minyarji. Ms. Bolanese.
I was just going to say, thank you so much for putting this together, and thank you to so much to all of those who joined us for public comment and expressed your input. I think that's very important and valuable. And I think, as Ms. Minyarji was saying, it's great that we're having this conversation. I think Mr. Hopcroft was also pointing out that this is still in the House. So I'm not really sure how it progresses through, I guess if it goes from the House, then onto the Senate. So I'm not really sure how it makes its way through at the state level. But I do think it's important that we stay in touch with our legislators so that we understand what's happening with this, and so that we can stay in step with that as it develops. And I think from a policy perspective, policy is very much on the governance side. We're sort of high level, overarching, aspirational. But when we start getting down into the part, I guess I see part of this as I think that the school committee can take a broad stance on this. And I mean, I'm personally very supportive. But I think what we do have to remember from a policy perspective is that we come up with the overarching view, but we don't get down into codifying the procedures and all of the steps. I view that as more of an operational responsibility. So I'm glad to hear, as one of our public speakers, public commenters was saying this morning, that like the Lincoln School is having this discussion, that the staff there are having this discussion. And I think it's important for our staff to be having this discussion, perhaps with the IMT teams as well, so that there is a procedure in place. But I don't know that the school committee gets into the procedure. But otherwise, I'm very supportive.
Thank you, Ms. Bolanese. I see Mr. Hopcroft's hand is raised again.
Yeah, thank you. I realized I probably wasn't clear. I was just responding to the Protect Act in the in Mr. Bellaire's memo, because it had referenced the schools being there and just that wasn't fully settled, but hopefully will be. I do think the guidance, the Executive Office of Education, has issued guidance that that could be adopted sooner. So I don't think that we have to necessarily wait for the Protect Act, but at the same time, I think that'll be forthcoming pretty soon. Ms. Bolanese, I think you also raise a really good point on policy versus procedures, and I think that that adopting the state recommendations, which I think are a very good baseline, allows the superintendent to allows us to focus more on what do we want that's unique above and beyond this for Winchester from a policy point of view, while the superintendent can administer the procedures because a lot of it is rightly not in our domain. So I agree with that as well. But yeah, I don't think we need to hold it up for the Protect Act. Though hopefully it'll be forthcoming very soon.
Thank you, Mr. Hopcroft. I'll just comment that I'm broadly supportive of what Mr. Hopcroft just said. My idea around this, and in full disclosure, obviously, I am a member of the board of the Network for Social Justice, so I've been aware of these issues. Very grateful that Mr. Bellaire put them into the memo and brought them forward for consideration. But in terms of my own involvement, this is something I'm extremely supportive of, and I am definitely on board with what Mr. Hopcroft said. It would be, I think, well advised for us, especially mindful of what Ms. Bolanese said, to develop the higher level policies and have an understanding of where Winchester would like to be from a high level policy perspective, sort of maybe in front of and open to revision if things change with the final form of the House Senate conference around the Protect Act, what the final form of the legislation looks like and what responsibilities that puts onto us. But I would love for us to be, if not a forerunner, since the Protect Act is passed in both the House and Senate, and they're just in conference right now, and we know it's one of the the largest priorities for both of our legislative bodies, as well as for the governor to sign this year. I would just like to see us be very prepared, especially given the fact that the fall is always more rapidly approaching than we want it to be over the summer as we're enjoying our moments off. And so my suggestion around this would be that our policy subcommittee, Ms. Bolognese and Mr. Belair, take this up at an upcoming meeting and then bring back a recommendation for the high-level policy to the committee that we can vote on and incorporate. And that'll get us, as Mr. Hopcroft said, that will get us sort of out in advance of what we strongly anticipate will be a legislative imperative that comes down to us from the state. Moving forward. I will, on a personal note, say I'm very grateful for the public commenters that came today. I'm always very excited to see broad-based coalitions across the community coming to our table and advocating around issues that are important to them. I think that's a really important part of civic life, and I am excited to continue to work with folks who've come today to advocate on behalf of those who are more vulnerable in our communities. Obviously want to make sure that we do everything we can to be as protective as possible in the context of our own local community, and particularly for our students. Children are the most vulnerable folks in our communities when it comes to issues around immigration enforcement at the federal level. And I think it's always important to ensure as much as we possibly can that we provide as much of a protective layer around them as possible, because the federal context is quite menacing at the current moment. So thank you to everybody. I will, with that, ask if politely as chair, if our policy subcommittee can take this up as a next agenda item and bring back to us for consideration in the future. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that. Unless there's anything else, we will move on to our section of updates. All right. So there's two things today. We have an open volunteer position. Could everybody who's not on mute, just go on mute, because I think there's some feedback in the Zoom call. So I just want to make sure that's thanks. There is an open position for a school committee appointed EFPBC member. As you know from our prior meetings, I am currently serving as a school committee rep on the EFPBC. Given the action of town meeting this past spring, we're going to have a second school committee appointed position. I think the committee has kind of decided by consensus that we'd like that to be not a second school committee member, but rather a member of the community who is appointed by the school committee to serve with our lens of concerns and on our behalf. And so that the application for that volunteer position is now available. You can apply online at our website, winchesterps.org, and certainly feel free to email the committee if you have any questions in advance of applying for that. But we would love to have a robust pool of applicants to join our EFPBC. For those that are not aware, that is the Education Facilities Planning and Building Committee, which during times when we're partnered with the MSBA to do construction on our schools, which we currently are at the Morocco Elementary School, and that is a committee that also serves as what's called the School Building Committee, which under MSBA procedures is the body that makes decisions and determinations around how to partner with MSBA on the construction design of new schools. So it's a great time for anyone who has interest in the topic, as well as any relevant expertise that can be anything from construction, architecture, design, trades, anything of that nature that could be a helpful contributor to that committee. So certainly encourage anyone who may have applied for EFPBC through the town seats who was not selected. Certainly would love to have them, as well as anyone who might be a new applicant interested in the committee. It generally meets on Monday nights. I attended my first meeting after being officially added on July 1st, and I will just update the committee. I know many of you were able to attend that as folks in the audience not participating, but there was a robust discussion of the draft facilities master plan including a lot of discussion of the Morocco Elementary School, and that discussion is available on WinCam for anyone who would like to review it on demand. So we definitely are going to, my suggestion to the EFPBC was that it is time for us to get together as a school committee and as EFPBC to sort of discuss the next steps in that project and make sure that the final product that comes out of the facilities master planning process aligns with the decisions that the school committee needs to make around the Morocco Elementary School in particular, and our building assets across the district more broadly. So that will be the next step. Hopefully we can do that at some point over the summer before that process is finalized and the final document is available. So that's the update with EFPBC. And then capital planning, I will turn over to Ms. Minyarji.
Thank you. So last night I attended my first WCCP CPC meeting, which was very convenient because I'm a member of both committees. And it was a great collaborative meeting because, WCCP is a relatively new committee, and it works. There are plenty of projects that overlap between the two bodies. So it's just a way to work collaboratively and support each other and support the projects as much as we can and leverage whatever funds that we have available. We voted our capital priorities, and if you could just click on that really quickly, Andrew, and just bring up our ranking. We voted on this on our June 26th meeting, but which is past the June 15th deadline for WCCP. But I'm making the case on Tuesday that the Lincoln flat work is actually not a new application. And we took a lot of the feedback that we received from WCCP last year and we tweaked it. So we're hoping to have them consider it again this year. But also it'll be a good example of how the two bodies are working well and in a collaborative way and bringing the strongest case possible to town meeting, because at the end, all of the committees, including this one, are beholden to town meeting. So it's just bringing that best case, the best case that we can make for not just Lincoln flat work, but all of our historic assets. Oh, which yes, is also McCall, the HVAC project, and the field work for Lincoln. And bringing those in front of WCCP and hoping to get that support. So I will update you to see if WCCP and Capital will collaborate on that. At the very least, it's in the Capital queue, so it'll be brought in front of fall town meeting once Capital finalizes its process. Any questions? No. Thank you. Yeah, Tom.
I was just curious, can you let us know how much CPC funds are available for historic buildings in this area? If you know, if not, that's okay.
Specifically to historic?
Well, the categories that you were talking about for Lincoln and McCall.
I'm sorry. So for the Community Preservation Act funds or the stabilization funds?
CPC.
So CPC is Capital Planning Committee. So those are the stabilization.
Oh, sorry.
I know it's very confusing. I literally serve on both committees and I have yet to get it straight. So
the 4-letter acronym, not the 3-letter acronym. Thank you.
Yes. So WCCP is the Community Preservation Act funds, and CPC is Capital Planning Committee. And those are the building and the capital stabilization funds. So two separate tranches.
We could have done a better job finding more dissimilar acronyms.
Yeah, or just calling WCCP CPA, the CPA committee. Then that would have been very straightforward. Or, the capital planning, just stabilization committee.
But then to be fair, it would have been CPC and CPA, which is still very close. Okay. So.
The real question is there $900,000 to do the Lincoln flat work, I guess, go on.
Yes, but then that would take money away from other things. So it's not 100%. We're not looking for them to fund 100% of it, but to share a portion of it. May it be 50-50. There was a survey that was conducted after fall town meeting. It was published in December, I believe. And in the survey of town meeting members, it was specifically about how would you like to see this partnership between the stabilization funds and the CPA. And 60% of 60% of CPA funds, town meeting members would like to see being used towards projects in the capital backlog, which these 3 projects that I highlighted, these school projects, are a part of that capital backlog, right? And then the remaining 40% to go towards, other community initiatives.
So do you have a sense is there a sense of the scale of how much money WCCP has for the like I get that it wouldn't all come from here, but do they have like $1 million or do they have like 5 million?
They have I think they have 2 million. They have about 2.1, I believe, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Thanks.
And of course, some projects, like yesterday, we spoke about the Packer Ellis courts. In a couple of years, that's going to be like a $3 million project. Like all of these bigger projects, we don't just spend $3 million out of the gate, we borrow, right? And so it's that debt service that'll be coming out of those funds, because we won't spend $3 million in cash, right, on a project.
That's
we have our AAA rate on it, right? We have a AAA bond rating. We might as well use it.
That's a great point, and that's how the solar work we did makes money in year 1. So yeah, that's a great reminder for the community. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Great. With that, we will move on to our next agenda item, which is consideration of approval for our district contracts. Mr. Marin, I will hand it over to you for this.
Thank you. So we have 3 contracts for your review. So as you know, our policy is school committee will weigh in on contracts longer than 3 years. And so the first one we went out, school committee voted in the fall to support a request for proposals to extend our district childcare program from 3 years to 5 years. And we went through the process this late winter, early spring. And we had two bids on it, and Kidsborough was the most favorable out of those 2. And they were also our existing vendor for childcare. And so we're looking to extend them a new contract, and this would be year 1 of 5. And it would be structured in a way similar to the food service contract that we renew year by year. So it's over a 5-year term, but we have the option to extend each year. And so if something did change or we want to go back out to bid, the committee would still have that option. And then the second one on the list is a hardware lease. So with our budget and some of the constraints, we still have to update a significant amount of Chromebooks in the district, and switching to a leasing model is going to be more economical for us and will enable us to update a larger amount of devices that we have. And it will help also reorganize some of that as well. So this is for student Chromebooks. It's mostly at the elementary level. And this will be a 5-year lease. It will align with our 5-year life cycle replacement that we try to do those devices. And then the last one is we're going to year 2 of our current food service management company contract, and that's what's Woodson's Nutrition. So these are in your packet. Happy to go into more detail on anything there.
Mr. Hopcroft, I see you have a question, followed by Mr. Biller.
Yeah, and these are I'm supportive of all of these. So first of all, I was just curious, and maybe I'll just throw out my 3 questions. One, I was curious in the child care lease, and I remember how we have the ability to get out of this every year, and I was kind of curious why what the difference between having a 5-year contract that you can go out to bid every single year on and just having a 1-year contract is. Are we locking in like the terms over 5 years? I was just curious as a quick reminder. Maybe just answer that, and I'll quickly ask the other 2.
Sure. So we feel like programs like this and food service, you're trying to build a program and have consistency, and students get to know the individuals within those programs. And with Kidsborough in particular, we've had a good history of them. We've gotten really good feedback from families. The service they provide, so we thought it'd be worthwhile to extend a 5-year for that program.
Okay. I didn't know if there's something that we're gaining from having that.
And there's this slight overhead to doing these processes. It's not a huge lift, but it is a process each year.
So efficiency gains.
Yeah.
Okay, on the hardware lease, was curious, are we doing, is that sort of over, is it staggered so that we're getting five, are we buying them all and every 5 years they'll all become old and have to get renewed, or are we getting like a fifth of them each year over 5 years so that every year a fifth of them comes up to be refreshed? What's your thinking?
Yeah, the latter. No,
Okay.
I don't think it's not 1/5, but we are trying to parse it out so that we can get to that standard 5-year life cycle replacement. But then maybe it's over the next 3 years, and we go to remaining devices at the elementary and secondary level that we support, and then also devices for staff too. Looking at that.
Great. And then on the food services, I know we've been moving from styrofoam to compostable trays to eventually having dishwashers and being able to have real trays. Was curious, do we have the styrofoam completely out now? Because I know at one point we were ending up with a styrofoam when other districts used up all the compostable stuff. I think said that they were all out now. Just wondering kind of on the sustainability progression, how we're doing and how you're thinking about that.
Yes, styrofoam is officially out. I did not see it any time this year come back. We had good supply chains around those trays. We also work closely with a group in town. Again, their official name, it's kind of like the Winchester Sustainability Group. I think, Tom, you know them. I forget. But we work with them on our composting efforts at the elementary school. And we had a great group of students at the high school over the past 2 years who've been building out the composting program on site there. So we're going to extend some of those practices to get to the remaining schools next year, which would be a focus on McCall, and then also at Morocco Elementary, in Vincent Owen too. In terms of sustainability, we were looking at some other services around the reusable warewashing, but just with budgets as they were, we've sort of paused that effort and sort of reevaluating that at the moment. But right now we have warewashing at the Lynch Elementary School, where it was purpose-built there. And the next natural step would be looking at McCall for that, where they have some of the infrastructure in place. We just have to make some upgrades maybe over the next year or so.
Fine. Thank you.
Mr. Belair?
Thank you. So I think recognizing that we have the technology usage committee that Dr. Elena has been doing a great job leading, that's going to be meeting throughout the summer and into next school year. That's looking at all of our technology policies, including the how we might approach technology in different ages. I think I would be maybe more open to a shorter term lease on the Chromebooks, just given that we might need this committee might deliver recommendations to the superintendent that we need additional Chromebooks. They might say that we need fewer Chromebooks, and I think that might influence the terms of a contract like this. So, Andrew, could you say a little bit more about, or Mr. Mayor, could you say a little bit more about the pricing of the 5-year contract relative to a potentially shorter term option? And I think you mentioned that this was about a fifth of the Chromebook inventory that the district has. So that information would be helpful.
Yes, I would recommend the 5-year lease. This does come with a sort of reorganization and standardization of some devices at the elementary level in terms of what we're offering. So these would be a higher amount of devices, and now it's more about 50% of a classroom's enrollment is the count. So this is reducing devices to start. And then even if there were further changes, it's the same model that we use throughout the district. And we still have a significant amount of upgrades at the secondary level that we can repurpose things, move it around. So I wouldn't see a reason to change that if other things were to change. But we also have had some really good conversations internally on those inventories and what's where the district is looking to go with things. I know Dr. Hack has been involved with that too. Want to add anything?
No, you said what I was going to say. Actually, just to say that this represents a reconfiguration and a reduction of the ratio of devices at the elementary level fairly significantly, actually. We were approaching almost 1-to-1 in a lot of places. This cuts that down to, I think the ratio is 10 or so. It depends on how many kids in the classroom. But I also just want to mention that, part of the challenge for us is MCAS is still delivered. It is still delivered on devices. So we have this huge ramp up of a need to get devices in kids' hands, and the district's always done a really good job scheduling that and rotating that and sending devices from one school to the other. But there's that reality that we do, we also we have to make sure we have enough devices to be able to accommodate that, as well as devices that in case some device goes down, that we have some backups that can be used if a teacher is doing a lesson that is reliant on the technology. So I really appreciate the point, Ms. Belair. I don't think this does anything to hinder any development or movement in any way towards whatever the committee comes out with. And I think it actually does reset kind of our starting point so that we can kind of change maybe the expectation around how many devices that students are going to have or buildings are going to have at the elementary level. So we obviously should not be doing 1-to-1 for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is we can afford it. Certainly the other piece is kids don't need a device in their hands all the time. So.
All right, Ms. Minyarji.
I love hearing that, Dr. Hackett. I love hearing that. I think the one thing that I really loved about arts and letters is that it's paper and pencil. My son was in the 5th grade pilot, so 5th graders who do bring their own device. He didn't need his Chromebook to participate in the new arts and letters curriculum. So I don't think it would impact the rollout of arts and letters this year. Can you please confirm that?
The replacement of devices, do you mean?
Yes. Well, the quantity of devices in each building and whatever we're budgeting.
No,
Correct. Okay.
It would not affect. There, as you know, there is some technology related to the program around assessments, that kind of thing, but it doesn't have to be done through technology. So what I can tell you is we probably need to come up with some money to add storage annexes to each one of our building, given the amount of materials that have come in. It's just unbelievable, the amount of materials. And the volunteers, they're people here, I don't even know who they are, but they're linking every single day, and they're in that little entry area, and they are just going through them like Santa's elves and just packaging and repackaging. It's just an amazing operation that's going on here.
I saw all of the boxes and boxes stacked at Ambrose the last week of school, and it requires feats of strength to move all of those books, but they are exactly that. They're paper and they're workbooks and literature that the children will have in their hands. I saw the kindergarten books and they are just stunning. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm grateful that this will not at all interfere with a successful rollout.
That's great. Any other questions? If not, I would be happy to accept a motion. Mr. Marin, just in terms of procedure, do we need to do 3 separate motions for each of these, or can we accept them? We didn't really put them on the consent agenda, so I'm assuming it's 3 separate motions and votes.
Yes, yeah, that'd be great, just separate to have them.
All right. I would accept a motion to start around the acceptance of the district childcare contract with Kidsborough.
So moved.
Second.
All right. With a motion by Ms. Minyarji, seconded by Ms. Bolognese, I'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So that's a 5-0 unanimous vote. Moving on to the hardware lease. I would accept a motion around the acceptance of the hardware lease agreement.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right. On a motion by Ms. Bolognese, seconded by Mr. Hopcroft. We will take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair.
Abstain.
All right. Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So we are 4-0 to 1 on that one. And then in terms of the agreement with Whitson's Nutrition, acceptance of the food service management contract for year 2 of 5. I will accept a motion on that as well.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, on a motion by Mr. Hopcroft, seconded
Second.
by Ms. Bolognese. We will take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair.
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft.
Aye.
Bolognese.
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well. So that is 5-0. All right, thank you so much for those. Congratulations, Mr. Marion. We've gotten that dealt with for this year, and look forward to rolling that out over the coming weeks. Moving on quickly to our summer meeting schedule and workshops. I would encourage you all. I'm going to send a scheduling text, my favorite thing, to try and actually get sometimes nailed down for our summer meetings. I know that some of us have vacations that we need to work around, but ideally what I would like to see with this is that we have at least 2 sessions, preferably between now and the beginning of August, because I know we have one member who's leaving the country at that point. And so if we are able to do that, there are a number of topics that we need to delve into that we will discuss at a later date. Don't need to belabor that for today since we're already at 11:07 and we needed to go into executive session. But please respond as quickly as possible. Let's get these on the books, because once folks start going out of the country, it's a little bit less easy to schedule. And so if it's possible to do 1 or maybe 2 sessions in real time, that would be great for the topics that we need to discuss over the summer. Obviously, we are having our meeting next week as well for the consideration and approval of the contract with our new assistant superintendent for elementary education. So look forward to having that meeting as well. But do look out between now and then for the scheduling information for our summer meeting workshops. With that, I will move on to our next agenda item, which I believe is moving into executive session. And so unless there are any other items, I would accept a motion to move into executive session, mindful of the fact that the committee will not come back into public session, and we will just adjourn directly from that executive session without coming back online. So the executive session today is for purposes 2 and 3 to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, as well as to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the WEA, as the chair declares in both cases that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the committee. So let's accept the motion at this time.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Motion by Ms. Bolognese, second by Ms. Minyarji. We'll take a roll call vote. Mr. Belair?
Aye.
Mr. Hopcroft?
Aye.
Ms. Bolognese?
Aye.
Ms. Minyarji?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So we are adjourned into executive session at 11:09 a.m.
And the link will be in our email, probably.
I see Dr.
Yes,
Hackett's,
yes, it will.
Dr. Hackett's
no, just yes, you'll get it from Andrew, right,
Andrew.
Mr. Marin? Andrew
All
will
right.
be sending that as we scheduled and planned before the meeting. So this is all arranged.
No pressure.
At least you think we were not organized.
I haven't received anything yet.
It's coming. Check your
Sign off
spam.
there. Okay.
Check your spam. All right, 11:09.
All right, thank
Thanks
you.
so much, everybody. Thank you, WinCam, and to our minutes taker, who will come back to this at a later date. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.